Is automatic promotion slipping away? Welcome back to Where the Town Walk with myself, Luke, and today we've got Rich and Ian talking all things Ipswich Town. Rich, that was another frustrating game against another low block team.
I think you have to give a bit of credit to Preston, Luke. I think if you're a Preston fan this morning, you're waking up, you're probably going to be a little bit frustrated. I know you've got a point from the game, but I think overall, if you look at the game and you look at probably the chances that they had before, like when we've got the equaliser and after that, which we'll talk about, I think they've had the better of the game. Our goalkeeper had more saves than Di Cornell did. I thought Jefferson for them up front, number 9, was excellent. I know Ian disagreed in the WhatsApp group last night, but I thought he was everything that we need. He was awkward. He made it hard for the two centre-halves. He running behind that channel. I mean, they must have looked at Leif Davis and thought, right, he's going to leave a lot of space there, because that's where they were trying to exploit them. It balls down the side. Probably should have scored in the first half. But look, we've come away with a point. I think it's important because probably on 85 minutes, a lot of people thought that we'd probably go on and lose the game. So we've got a point. We'll talk about the penalties that we could have had and the penalty that we did add, because it could have been different and we could have ended up winning the game right at the end of the game. But I think overall it was like it says there, boring and turgid, which I think under McKenna in certain games we're not that great to watch, Luke. Yeah,
especially against these low block teams. We spoke about this a few times, haven't we? That we just can't do it. We can't break them down, whether it's the intensity, not moving the ball quick enough, whether it's not taking enough shots and making things happen. Anything can happen. You put a ball into the box, anything can happen. You have a shot from 20, 25 yards out, anything can happen. We need to be a little bit more, taking a bit more risks in them sort of games. And you're right. I think Preston, they came with a game plan and they stuck to it. They hit us on the counter attack. I'm between you two on the Jefferson thing. I think he had a good game, but I think he had a good game because of the way Preston played. You put Jefferson into our team, I don't know how he would be. I mean, he's good at a counter attack, that sort of style, getting in behind, and yeah, he did the job. But what do we need to do, Ian? How do we break down these teams in the low block? It's going to keep happening because it's the teams are coming and they're having success, so it's going to keep happening to us.
I think I've said it a couple of times. We really, really need to work on our transition. And McKenna actually said that in his after-match press conference as well. So not only the transition from going with possession, taking it forward on the counter, but just that transition back into defensive. I know it's great to see Jack Clark pick that up. He backtracked quite a way to make a great tackle. But as Rich pointed out there, Preston had picked up on the fact when Leif Davis moves forward, the cover rotates left. Is Kipre. He's not the fastest player. And then number 9, he did a fantastic job in slipping in behind Davis, like Rich said. Yeah, but we need to be able to, deal with that transition back. Whether that's whether we bring Jack Taylor to fill back when Davis is going forward, I'm not really sure, because when Philigine's in that position, Davis doesn't tend to go as far forward, so he's maybe slightly home, a bit more home. When it's with Jack Clark, you see Leif Davis pushing down to that far corner a little bit more. But that's certainly an area we've got to work on, because every time we had these disappointing games, it seems we get caught out at the back, and it doesn't matter who we're playing, whether it be Charlton at home, Preston, Oxford, they're the teams that are taking advantage, because they know that the opportunities for them won't come from their own ability. They'll need to pick up our faults, which is why when we play some of the better teams, they think they can do it on their own abilities, therefore we can actually use our game plan to beat them. So I would like to see us tidy it up there. Bringing Walton at the goalkeeper, I've seen he seems to want to punt the ball a bit more, which is good. We don't always laboriously play it out from the back, and he's quite willing to punt the long ball deep, which is good as well. So mix it up a little bit, tighten up on the transition, going back in defence, and then look to get the ball going forward much quicker. There were times yesterday where Dara O'Shea had shades of Cole Skuse all about him, and I don't want to single him out, but there's everybody in the crowd is looking for a quick break down the wing, and he'll stop and turn it back in, and was like, no. Yeah. I mean, we got the luxury of sitting in the stands, but
the frustrating thing I think was once we did get out. So say O'Shea sometimes played that diagonal ball, doesn't he? He loves that diagonal ball over to Leif Davis. We get out. But then it gets slowed down again. Rather than we finally made that breakthrough, however, whether it was quick, whether it took 100 passes, whatever it is, but we finally get into that space and then the ball, and it's slow. Jack Clark takes 4 million touches, or Davis takes the ball down. It's all very slow, and when you're playing against a team in a low block, you have to capitalise on them times where you're in them gaps and in them spaces. And it just wasn't happening. Let's move on to a talking point from the game. I think I've never seen so many penalty claims. Rich, the referee, I know it's hard, isn't it? Referees have a hard job. We say it every week, but he particularly struggled, and so many claims.
I mean, not just the penalty claims. There was several times. There was a foul. I think it might have been Kajus fouls, and we had it might have been Matsuba gets fouled, and there was a great advantage he should play, and he pulls it back. And then I think there was one for Preston that he played on. I just thought he's so inconsistent, Luke, and I think the penalty that we got, I don't think it's a penalty. Paul Valentine for Preston doesn't need to make that challenge. I think it's really, really silly of him, because I was reading Paul Heckenbottom's comments, and he didn't really want to criticise the ref, but he did say that if you go to ground, one, you don't really need to go to ground, and two, you give the referee a decision to make. Jack Clark takes another 2 or 3 steps before he goes down, doesn't he? And that says to me, I don't think that's a pen. He's given it. Then we get on to, does he kick the ball twice? Does he slip? Does he kick it onto his left foot? And I've watched it several times. I still can't see. I think possibly he does, but possibly he's not going to mean you're going to disallow it, is it really? Because that's the rule now, that it doesn't get retaken, and we've not got VAR. And I think we're probably all thankful for that we haven't got to sit through probably about a 5-minute review of that, Luke. They'll be looking at a screen and getting a microscope out, because that's the only way you'll be able to tell if he's kicked that ball twice, because I couldn't see it. Then we get the second foul on Jack Clark, which I think is more of a foul than the first one. So I think that's a penalty. The handball, the first one, I think it's O'Shea hits it. I don't think that's a handball when it strikes the defender, because his arms are like literally by his side. The second handball, so the fourth penalty claim, I think that's a penalty. I think his arm moves a little bit towards the ball. But the thing with the ref was they'd put so much pressure on him after Clark scored, moaning for probably another 2 minutes, that he's kicked it twice. I don't think there's any way he was ever going to give another penalty. I'm not saying that's right, but I think he might have thought, maybe I think that first one maybe wasn't a pen. I'm not going to give any more. But yeah, Mr. Busby did not have the greatest game, let's just say.
No, not at all. I completely agree as well. You beautifully went through all the penalty claims. I completely agree. Probably 2 of them were, 2 of them weren't. And yeah, I think he probably realised maybe that wasn't a penalty the first one, so he tried to even it out. But that's not. You shouldn't do that. That's not right. That's not. We're saying that's what's happened, but that isn't right. It's a very frustrating game from the penalty claims to the way we played. Very, very frustrating. I think what I'd like to see is take a little bit more risk in the game, and I think that brings us on to a player that probably didn't have his great game, and he has struggled in the Championship compared to last season. That's Jens Kajus, Ian. He if he hasn't got his touch and his control, which is what his main attribute is, he doesn't bring a lot else, and he is struggling in the Championship, isn't he?
It's weird because, excuse me, yeah, in his position as pivot, he needs to open up his body to receive the ball. He wasn't doing it at all, not once. And if you're bringing the ball out from the back as either Kipre or O'Shea or even Matisiwa, if you're going to play the ball through the middle, you need to know that player is ready to either receive the ball or he's in a position where he's moving into space. There was no space there because of the block, but he never opened up. He made it hard for him to receive the ball to start with. And some of those silky runs we've seen in the past where he gets the ball and moves on, they weren't happening either. So there was certainly something about his game that wasn't there, whether his head's not in it or not, whether he's getting a bit disjointed with this constant rotation between him and Taylor. That's going to be interesting to see how Neil fits in to them too. Do we suddenly see a pecking order change? Because there is no doubt in Kajus's ability, and there are many people now questioning, and can we afford to have this luxury player in the team? I mean, I still rate him as a fantastic player, but there are games in Championship football which resemble League One, League Two football. And there are few and far between games in the Championship that resemble Premier League football. So he's maybe more suited for those high-profile fixtures than the ones where we need to get a bit muddy in there, which is why Jack Taylor, I think it would have been good to see Jack Taylor start against Preston. He would have suited that game a bit more. He'd have been a bit more agricultural with his balls. So he wasn't looking to kind of run with the ball in the middle, which might have suited us getting this quick transition to attack. But yeah, there's certainly, I mean, he'll be the first one to know as well that his game's not up to scratch, because when you review that game on Monday, it's his body position is all wrong, and it really does stand out. So for any young footballers who happen to watch this, that's an example of how not to want possession.
Yeah, definitely. We've got some brilliant comments coming through as well. They're all agreeing it was slow, no intensity. We've got some comments agreeing with yourself, Ian, about the way we need to play. If we're playing against a low block, maybe we do need to look at maybe having some more pacier centre backs in there. And obviously the result means that we are now in fourth place. We've dropped into a place lower. We've drifted away from Middlesbrough, who are flying. Obviously, Coventry did lose, which helps us out. It makes it tighter in there. Hull winning. It's obviously that's the reason we dropped into fourth. It's looking like it's now or never, Rich, and it's coming in a time where we've got 5 away games, so it's coming a really tight.
Yeah, I think by the end of February we're going to know. I think probably where we're heading, Luke, because it's a real tough month with them games on the road. But look, we've got this big squad, and everyone's raved about it from the start of the season, and now it's time for it to show its quality, isn't it? Really, you can't play all your games at home, and we've been really good. So far, it was 7 on the bounce, wasn't it? Wins, and we're probably there's going to be a game in there like Preston. And just going back on the referee, I don't think we can use it as an excuse. I know a lot of people will do. They'll say, "Oh, look, we should have had a penalty. We should have won the game." Fair enough, but we didn't play well enough overall, And now we're right back in that pack. We've got a very, very. It's a harder game now, Portsmouth, than it would have been at the end of December. They're 4 games unbeaten. They beat West Brom yesterday at home. Chapper's got his first goal, which I think we're all happy about. It'd have been better if he was in a blue of Ipswich, but that ship has already sailed. So we've got to take it game by game now. We can't look too far ahead. And I know Kieran and the staff, they won't. As fans, we're all probably dreading it, thinking we're not great on the road after the last game against Sheffield United, but I think we're more than capable of going to Portsmouth and your derbies, who had a brilliant result on Friday, and winning. But we all know what we're probably going to get. It's going to be probably a little bit lively down at Fratton Park on Tuesday, close to the pitch. We've got to stamp our authority on that game. In the first 20, 25 minutes, it might not be pretty, but we've got to dig in there. And then after that, show your quality on the ball and win the game. But do I sit here and think that we're going to get all the points from February's games? I'm not really sure what you're going to get from this team sometimes. That's the problem, that we're still where we are and we're still not trusting of this team. And if we go a goal down, are we going to be able to come back, especially on the road? We're going to have to show them qualities, Luke, because if we don't, we'll get to the end of February and we're going to slide away from the top 2, and you're just going to be back in the mix then. And you've got teams like Wrexham are coming onto form. We need to address this. It's 2 games. It's 2 games that we haven't got the points that we needed, and there's still a long way to go, and there's going to be many twists and turns. But we need, if we could get a decent haul of points from these 4 games, it's going to set us up for March. And you've still got a hole to come to Portman Road. We've got to play at Borough. Still got a big game in April, them lot up the road, which is going to be really, really tough now because they're on good form. So we need to show the mentality. We've spoke about it on here a lot of times. It's time. Yeah. Time to do it.
Definitely. And yeah, I agree. I think February's going to be very telling. The next time we're back at Portman Road, we'll kind of have more of an idea of where this season is going to go, because it's going to be tough. Then 4 away games in the league is going to be very, very tough. We need to try and get as many points from them as possible. And I think it comes down to mentality. It comes down to confidence as well. And you go through the team, and which is, I know it sounds crazy because we are sitting in 4th. We're not sitting in mid-table or anything like that. But you go through the team, there's a lot of players that haven't got confidence at the moment. You're looking at George Hirsch, you're looking at Agelli. I mean, his confidence seems a little bit lower than it has been as late. So it's definitely going to be something that we need to look at. And I do think Portsmouth, Ian, is going to be a huge game, because if we can start that away run with a win, I think that again that gets that confidence up a little bit. Do you think that we can go to Fratton Park, get a result, and do you think by the time we're back at Portman Road, we will still be in a good position to try and get automatic promotion?
I think fate favours us right now. I mean, look at Coventry, over 9 points clear of Middlesbrough, now tied on points. We're not far off it, 8 points. the teams around us are capitulating. The likes of Hull have had a great run. They're up there now. Wrexham, as Rich said, and even teams towards the bottom. So what we can rely on is these teams are having a run of form at the bottom of the table, and even like QPR had a great win yesterday. Maybe they can do us favours, but you can't rely on other teams. It's all down to us. And if I think back 2 years ago when we were away at Coventry, we needed a result. We got a result. The year before that in League One, we had two really hard fixtures with Barnsley away and Peterborough away. We were like, this is going to be so difficult. And, if we can do what we did at Barnsley, that just turned it around and smashed them 3-0. George Hurst, great goal. Let's do the same on the road now. Derby away is going to be, I think, probably the biggest test of character this season so far. I really do, because I think, Pompey, their tails are up, but that's a team we should be able to dispense with quite easy. Derby, I don't know if you watched the game against Bristol, though. They were really good. And we still don't know what's going to happen with Sammy yet. It could well be that Sammy Smodics is on their bench come the Derby game. So let's see what happens over the last 2 days of the transfer window. Let's hope maybe something comes in to appease the fans. And you're right. The confidence is an issue in the club. I thought George Hurst, despite missing what was an absolute pinned-on goal, he did absolutely brilliant when he brought that long ball down onto his foot, and was so unlucky that not to get a goal there. But it showed you when we do that Route 1 stuff, it does work sometimes. And that's what I want to see Mehmeti bringing into the team. Maybe he'll be a little kind of Duracell bunny, will get the rest of the team up and running, because he did not stop running the whole time. And it was great to see him on there. And unfortunately, with Azon going off at half time, meant we didn't get an opportunity to see Dan Neil come on towards the end, because I'm pretty sure he would have got some minutes as well.
Yeah, let's touch on our two new signings. Obviously, we haven't seen Dan Neil yet. Let's start with Mehmeti. Rich, I think he did look lively. He's probably one of the positives from the game, wasn't he? He looked lively, some lovely touches. But Ian touched on it. His work rate, it's very crucial in a McKenna team, isn't it?
I think we've got a snip really at 3 million. I know he's only just been here a couple of weeks, Luke, but I think he's one of these players. I think McKenna likes to work with these players, don't they? They sort of cut his teeth. He was at Spurs in the academy, and then he went into non-league, and then he went to Wickham, and he done really well there. I remember when he played against Town. So obviously he's done well at Bristol City, and he's deserved that move up. And I think for a team pushing for promotion, I think it's a risk worth taking, because if you get to the Premier League, we don't know if he can play in there. But if we don't, we know we've got a ready-made player in the Championship for next season. Fred had a lovely ball through, didn't he, to Jack Clark in the first half. I mean, I've watched it back. He just needs to have a shot first time there, Jack, on his left foot. Because he's in, isn't he? He's in. But he tries to get back on that right foot and he loses it. But I was a little bit disappointed that he took him off towards the end, Luke, when we're chasing the game. I know he probably... We'll get on to probably... When I get to my I'll talk about players playing a lot of games. But it's as if they can't play 90 minutes now. We all know that Akpom in the 10 doesn't work. And when I see him coming on, I thought... I don't like that substitution. Dan Neil, I think, is an excellent signing. A lot of times, Luke, you'll see a player move on and you'll see opposition supporters, he's crap, he's no good, we're glad to get rid of him. On the socials, I literally didn't see any negativity towards Dan Neil from Sunderland fans. They all love him. It shows the harsh reality of football that you've been at Sunderland as a kid since you were 6. You played 200 games, you captained your team to the Premier League, and then you're not needed in the Premier League. You played 13 minutes, and that shows that it's really, really harsh. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's obviously not up to match speed, and I think we need him in the team now, because these games are running out. I don't want to see him in 3 or 4 games' time. I want to see him playing at Portsmouth on Tuesday night. That might be a big ask, but get him in there. We need him now.
Yeah.
And he's a leader. He's a leader as well, Luke, because obviously he was a captain as well. So, and we need leadership, and we've spoke about this as well, and especially away from home. We need people like him in there.
Definitely. That's what I was going to ask you, Ian. I think something that you've mentioned a few times is the lack of leadership since Mawsey's gone. And Dan Neil, obviously, he was a captain for a couple of seasons at his boyhood club. He obviously has that born leadership. He's such a young boy to be a captain of his team for a couple of seasons at such a young age. He obviously has that in him, doesn't he? Do you feel he's going to bring that leadership, and that's what we need from him?
Yeah, we're quite lucky the club set up. We have the club captain, but McKenna also employs team captains. So we've got like 3 team captains. One of those was Connor Chaplin. So when he went to Portsmouth, we did lose a team captain. I'm not sure who picked up that mantle, but I have no hesitation with Dan Neil becoming one of the team captains. It's difficult to bring in a another player and say, you're no longer the captain, we're going to make him the club captain. That does unsettle the bench and unsettles the changing room. So I think O'Shea will continue to be the captain this season and potentially next year as well. But yeah, I have no hesitation in seeing that guy become a team captain. And, you'll see the difference on the park. Because like I say, yesterday was a game I looked and went, Sam Morsey would be able to turn this around somehow. But yeah, we'll have to see though.
Yeah, definitely. We got a few in there. I think, they call it like a leadership group, don't they? You got Furlong, Ashley Young, O'Shea. I think Leif Davis was mentioned to be in the leadership group, and I'm sure Dan Neil will then come in and bring his sort of qualities as well. I'm looking forward to seeing him. Like touch on what Rich just said. Very rarely do you see opposition fans just be so kind about a player leaving, and there really was. I haven't seen one negative thing about him, which shows not just his playing ability, but the character as well. They must have really bought into who he was as a person. Right, well, it comes thick and fast, the games. Obviously, the next one is Port Pompey. We've brought it up. Rich, what is your score prediction for the game?
We've got to win. I think it's. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's not must win." I think it is. I think we really need to. It's our game in hand. So I know as fans, a lot of times we'll say, "Yeah, we got that game in hand." It's not as easy as just sticking 3 points on the board. But I think it's what we really need, Luke. We need to. If you go another game and you've not got another win, it's going to be 3 games, and then how fans are. Everyone's losing their heads after a couple of poor performances, and we've got to show these players have got to get together and say, right, we're on the road here. It's the first game of. It's 4. I know it's 5 with the cup game, but I don't think a lot of people are really that bothered if we win down at Wrexham or not. But I think we really need to go there. We need to show some character. We need to show look, we've got better players than Portsmouth. I watched them last Sunday, and I know it was a derby against Southampton. They've got a lot of injuries, Luke, as well. They're not that good, but that means nothing. You get to 7:45 on that Tuesday night down there. Moutinho will know that he's got to get in amongst Ipswich, and he'll look at how Sheffield United played. And I know they're at home, but I don't think they're going to be gung-ho and come flying out at us and leave gaps. So they'll just make it nasty. They'll make it horrible. And we've got to stand up to that. I think we will. I think we're going to win 2-1. We're going to go 1-0 down. It's going to be the first time this season that we're going to show character, and we're going to come back and we're going to win the game. So 2-1 Town.
Love it. It has to happen eventually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We can't go season without coming from behind. Ian, what do you expect from the game, mate? And what's your score predictions? I'm sure you're thinking 3 points, surely.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be pretty. I love the fact that Chaplin was basically man of the match for Portsmouth yesterday because, hey, he won't be playing Tuesday. So that's really good. We've got to, if you play for Portsmouth, it's like playing for Ipswich. You play for the badge and the passion in that team. They may not have the quality we have, but they've certainly got the passion and desire. And the Fratton Park on an evening match is a great place to go. Really, really good atmosphere. Fantastic support down there. Just got to switch off to that. O'Shea's got to get in that team to say, literally, this is, like Rich said, it's a game in hand. We have to win this game in hand to make it count because this is like a free hit now. Coventry slipping up at the weekend. Middlesbrough and Hull got their foot full to the floor on the petrol. We've got to hope that Middlesbrough and Hull haven't got the energy to keep going, whereas we've got the squad to maybe see it out into March. But to do that, we've got to get 3 points there and close the gap to Middlesbrough now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, I'm saying with Rich, I think it's going to be a 2-1. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be another like 87th minute winner or something, maybe a penalty, we'll see. But it's going to be scrappy, I know that.
Well, a few comments coming in saying 1-1 draw, maybe. We need to make it count, don't we? Like I said, as fans, we always say, "Oh, I've got that game in hand. It's all right. We've got that game in hand." We need to actually win it to make it count. Then after Fratton Park, another away day. Pride Park, Derby County, as Rich mentioned, has come off of a great result against Bristol City. What do we expect from that game? Do you think they're going to attack us a little bit more, Rich? Do you think it's going to be a little bit more of an end-to-end game, that one?
I think John Eustace, I think he's a really good manager at this level. He was obviously at Birmingham and they got rid of him, didn't they? That didn't work out too well for them at the time. And then he was at Blackburn, and I think we all know the problems at Blackburn. I think if you go to Blackburn as manager, Luke, you know what you're sort of buying into there. And obviously Derby come along and he played for Derby, and they were struggling, weren't they, early in the season? But now they're sitting just outside them playoffs, and they're another team in that pack who think, right, if we can have a good end to the season here, you just do not know what can happen. You get in them playoffs, We all know the playoffs, they're literally one-off games. And Derby could be in the Premier League. I'm not saying they're going to be, but there's an opportunity there. I think it's another tough away game. It's obviously 12:30. It'll be 30,000. I think Pride Park, it'll be full. I'm not sure it's called Pride Park now. I'm not sure what it's called. These stadiums seem to change name every other season, don't they? It is Pride Park. I think it'll be a tough game for Town. I think we'll come away with a point. I'm going to go 2-2.
Okay. That'll be similar to the game at Portman Road, wasn't it? That was 2-2.
Yeah.
I remember Clark scored in the last couple of minutes penalty. I think we went 1-0 up, then they scored 2-2-1. I think that was the way it went at home. What do you expect, Ian? Are you hoping to get 3 points, but could it be a draw like Rich said?
I'll hope for 3 points, but John Eustace has done a great job there, and he brings in people he knows. Like Travis has come to Derby from Blackburn, and we knew he was a quality player, and he's had a really good start to his career at Derby as well. They still believe they need another player to kind of complete their setup, which is why I think they're keen on Smods. We have to really see what happens over this transfer 48 hours. But again, it's a team we can beat. But like the Championship has proven, any team can beat anyone. And I just want to hope that maybe Derby is so full of confidence after the way they dismantled Bristol that they come at us. And if they come at us, we have the ability to kind of to turn those teams. Be interesting to see if Jayden is going to be fit enough in time. I still think he's probably a little bit off that. We'll have to see how Tuesday goes against Pompey. If we pick up a couple of injuries, does he rest players at Portsmouth, knowing that we've got much more technically challenging game next week in Derby? So that'll be interesting. But I mean, you would look at the current form and you would say it's probably going to be a draw. But I'm a strong believer in positivity, and I'm going to go for 1-0 away win.
Nice clean sheet. That would be good. Yeah, McKenna came out in his press conference, in his presser, regarding Jayden and Nunes. He said one's going to be ready for Tuesday, one's going to be ready for Saturday, but he didn't say which way round it was. So we'll see whether it's from the start. Obviously, that's.
Who would we rather have, Luke? Who would we rather have fit?
Good question.
I'm a Nunes guy right now.
100%.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nunes, which is crazy because obviously Jayden's been scoring goals for fun, but on the road he hasn't been. I think Nunes is very important for us connecting through the pitch. I think that's what Nunes brings. He's that connector, isn't he? Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Two away days that are going to be tough, but I'm hoping. I think personally, if we take 4 points from them 2 games, that leads us on nicely to the next 2 away games. So let's say we beat Pompey and then draw against Derby. I don't think that would be terrible, depending on the results around us, though. That is the thing. We get into that sort of crunch time of the season where I don't know if you guys are doing the same. I'm constantly looking at the opposition, Hull, Borough, Coventry. How are they getting on? Oh. Right, we are now on to our A to Z feature, which we're up to the letter O, which is, mad. We're going through them so quickly. Rich, we'll start with you, please, mate. What is your letter O for Ipswich Town?
Well, I spoke earlier about players managing minutes and they can't play and they get in the red zone. This player, he played 385 games for Town. He played for England, over 740 career games, Luke. In 1980-81, he played 66 games for Town in that season, and he didn't miss a game. And now that these players are so pampered and protected. So my O is Russell Osman. I see him there yesterday. He's in the director's box. He's still in the Town. He still looks quite suave, and I think he's got lovely hair. When he played, he was a silky centre-back. I remember he was playing when I just started going, and yeah, I think nowadays when you speak to people like him and probably Terry Butcher, they must tear their hair out, Luke, these players. Oh, they can't play 3 games in a week. Russell Osman, 66 games. Look at the pitches back then that they used to play on. They were absolute mud heaps. They play on carpets now. They're all protected, these players. It drives me crazy. But yeah, my O is Russell Osman.
Yeah, he's a player that is still around the club. We've said it before. There's so many players that play for Ipswich that still then come back afterwards. It's such a well-knit community club, isn't it? Ian, what is your letter O for Ipswich?
Yeah, and from the same era, actually, as Russell the Muscle. And that is going to be the icon of Ipswich, is that scored the goal in the 77th minute in the FA Cup final against Arsenal, Roger Osborne. Quite an unassuming character, but, a pivotal moment in the history of the club, from a simple first-time hit of a ball low down to Pat Jennings' left lift the FA Cup, which, you know, for years was our bragging rights over Norwich, wasn't it? And then obviously quickly followed up by a UEFA Cup win. But it's weird, like Roger kind of just fizzled away into the background after that, really, didn't he? And I always say hello to him if I see him, because, you know, people know he's still active in the area. He was the groundsman up at Westerfield Football Club for a long time, until the club bought the area and expanded the training grounds and stuff. So yeah, for me, Roger Osborne will always be held in high regard, regardless of how good a player he was, but purely by the fact that he scored the goal that beat the mighty Arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. It's a brilliant comment on here about what you were talking about, Rich, in terms of the players of old, and it's played every game and rehydrated with a beer. That's what it used to be.
There you go, exactly. Maybe on the bus on the away games. I remember, I think it was Terry Butcher, one of his books, that they'd get back to Portsmouth Road and they'd like get out of the bus and open the door and like all the beer cans would fall out. I mean, you can't do that nowadays, can you?
No chance. Right. Another thing that's been flying through the comments is to do with our tweet of the week, and it is the striker situation. So the tweet of the week is, we've known since last March we would need a striker, basically relegated that stage. It'd be obvious that would move on. Effing wake up. That is the tweet. I feel like everybody in the comment section feels the same. We all three feel the same. Where is this striker? Why hasn't he come through the door yet? Are we going to get one? Rick, is it going to happen?
See, right. I'll go in two parts. So the first part, we've obviously known that length of time that when Delap was going to leave. So I just think that should have been addressed in the summer. You know, that's when we should have been looking to, look, we've got some money now. We can spend. We should have been spending on, and I don't want to diss George Hurst because I love him and I think he's done some great things for the football club. You know, I always remember that night away at Barnsley, one of me top probably 5 away games when he got that goal. You know, he just absolutely battered the centre half off. He's done a lot of good things, and then he was good in the Championship, went to the Premier League, and obviously we signed Delap as an upgrade. And as a football club, we're doing some great things, not just on the pitch, off the pitch. Everything's moving on up. But to me, we've gone back to who we had 2 seasons previous in the Championship, which I think is a mistake. And I know people say, oh, in hindsight, and George Hurst wanted the number 9 shirt to start the season. Yeah, he did. But also with his injury record, we know he's not got the greatest injury record, George. But did we think he was probably going to be as poor this season as he has? Because he'll probably admit that he's not had the greatest season. So, and I feel a little bit sorry for him because, like Ian said yesterday, it summed him up. He should have scored the one that was laid across to him. But the one after that, he does a brilliant touch. If everything's going for you and you're scoring goals, that goes in the net and everyone's like raving about him. So we should have been looking to upgrade in the summer. Now you go into the transfer window in January, and it's really, really hard to get a striker. And I think we all know that. You know, but we as a football club, we've put ourselves in this position. And if you look at, like, I think when George Hurst signed himself, that was near the end of the window. When Kiefer Moore came in, it was right at the end of the window. It was always going to be, Luke, I think, right at the end of the window, who we signed. Because, if anyone's any good, the clubs are not going to want to let him go. They're not going to want to let one of your best players go in January because it's silly. And now, where do we go? There's been so many links to so many players. And Adam Armstrong, people tell me, oh, he doesn't fit how we play. Well, he scores goals. Joel Pirro doesn't fit how we play. Doesn't want to come anyway. So if someone doesn't really want to be here, I'm not that bothered. Sam Surridge, he'd probably fit how we play. Then I look at his goal record, and it's not great. But we are in the position now as a football club where if he bought a Surridge in for, say, they're saying 10 million, you know, he's got 31 goals in the MLS. I know that's probably not as good a standard as the Championship. But if he comes in and he gets the goals and he helps us get promoted, he's done his job there. And we're fortunate where you could literally say, thanks very much, and he might just play a bit part next season, and he could move on. We're in a fortunate position at the minute, but I would be amazed. And I know Kieran said we might not sign anyone. He always plays a straight back, McKenna, doesn't he, in press conferences? He never gives anything away, and he doesn't have to, you know. But I would be amazed if we didn't sign a 9 by tomorrow night. And I think the time to criticise if we don't will be at the end of the season, because if we go up with what we've got, it's job done. If we don't go up, that's when the questions need to be asked of probably McKenna, Ashton, and the transfer recruitment, because across the board as a whole, I don't think it's been that great.
Yeah, very, very well said. I agree with everything you said. I think club has put themselves in this position, unfortunately, to try and get a striker because we haven't got one through the door since the lap of real quality. I know obviously we brought Azon in and Atpom who can play up there, but anyone with the standard that if we want to get to the Premier League again, we need someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net or bring something that Hurst doesn't, etc. What do you think? Are we going to see a striker all through the door? I know you are a fan of Sam Surridge. Would you see him come through?
Thing is, we're the second highest scoring team in the division. So we're thinking, people are saying, well, do we need another striker? But the problem is, it's missed chances. We're the second highest scoring team and we're still fourth. So therefore, we need to score more because our defences do what they need to do. You miss the chance to score. Sheffield United away, Hurst missed the chance to score. He flicked it with his heel and it just didn't go in. That would have changed that game. They come back literally straight up the other end, score, turn the game around. Yesterday, Hurst, brilliant, take down, have a shot, hit it a bit more conviction. Goal would have made so much more difference. So it's not just a fact to get another goal. It's what does that goal do to the game? And I think every week on here, Rich and I have said, it's all about scoring the first goal, and we struggle to score the first goal. And against teams like Preston, if you don't get a goal early, it just ends up becoming, crazy. So we need that. We need to have spent at the start of the season. I think McKenna should have managed George Hurst's expectations. George turned around and said, I want to be the number 9, gave him number 9 shirt. In George's mind, I am the number 1 striker in this club. And I think really we all knew that he was a good striker, but to really be serious contenders, we needed to go full on. Will we get a striker? Again, McKenna's mentioned that it's not an area that he's going to lose too much sleep on. But then again, they said if they got rid of Sammy Smodics, they wouldn't replace him. We know he can play up front. It's a really interesting one because money's not a problem. And it's finding a player who is good enough quality. And we don't want to be just left reaching out for hand-me-downs from Newcastle and Tottenham and stuff. We want a player who can, who's got time in these legs already, not someone who's been sat on the bench and now is going to take maybe a couple of months to prove himself to their host club. We should have gone big, and there are players out there. Swansea, just splash the cash and buy the player, because when you get £175 million in the bank for getting promoted, that's more than covered that. I don't know whether Surridge will be the man. He's decent in the MLS, or he'd score 4 in one game against Chicago. He's got about 7 or 8 penalties as well. So his goal scoring maybe is not as good as we want. I just really don't know with McKenna. It's so difficult to tell. And right now, if you go and check all the sites, we are linked with every single player who's wanting to move on to regular football. Yeah. So we just have to sit on our hands on this one.
I quote tweeted, I think it was the second tier on Friday, Luke. There was, in the summer, you had McBurney, Bamford, and Carlton Morris available, and McBurney was a free, Bamford was on a free, and Carlton Morris cost $3 million. And any one of them would have been adequate for Town. I mean, you look at the game last Saturday at Sheffield United. Bamford didn't do a lot in that game. He gets one chance and the ball ends in the net. And Ian's right what he says yesterday about Hurst. That chance he had at the North Stand end, it's 0-0 in the game. He scores there and we probably go on and win the game. It's when you have one chance, you might only get one chance in the game. Has to end in the net. And I know everyone says, it doesn't matter if our number 9, he doesn't score. Well, Jack Clarke and Philogene are our main source of goals. We haven't got a number 10, and that's another problem at the minute. Like Mick Mills said yesterday on Radio Suffolk, the number 10 at the minute, we love Nunes, Luke, but they don't score the amount of goals that a Chaplin used to score. So you've had them goals taken away from you. So I think it's really important between now and 7 p.m. tomorrow night that we get a striker in and he can get 7 or 8 goals and he can help us over the line, whether it's top 2 or in the playoffs.
We shall see. We shall see. Thank you, boys, for a great conversation after a very frustrating game. Thank you, everybody, for watching at home. Please like and subscribe, and please get involved in the comments below, talking all things Ipswich.